The world we inhabit is not as free, or certain, or safe as you might think. The things that you believe to be unassailably evident are little more than shadows dancing behind a curtain, a masquerade, crafted and dutifully upheld by an organization known as the Foundation. The file you are about to hear contains containment procedures, descriptions, testing logs, historical, and in some cases, first-hand accounts of the anomalous objects the Foundation serves to secure, contain, and protect. Its contents have been thoroughly scrutinized by the Ethics Committee and approved by the O5 Council for release to trusted associates of the Foundation. This is SCP Unredacted. Item Number SCP-3631. Object Class Euclid. Special Containment Procedures. SCP-3631-1 is held in a standard biological containment cell at Site-19 and is to be fed 2 kilograms of raw meat on a weekly basis. Food should be promptly removed if not consumed within 2 hours. The cell is to be cleaned on a weekly basis, and SCP-3631-1 must be sedated during this period and other interactions aside from testing. SCP-3631-2 is held in a modified chamber in the intensive care unit of Site-19, where it is provided sustenance through intravenous injection. SCP-3631-2 must be examined by a medical team daily. Any signs of deterioration are to be treated immediately. In the case that SCP-3631-2 deteriorates to critical condition and/or does not respond to treatment, Procedure V367 Killborn is to be carried out. SCP-3631-2 must be administered anesthetics before Procedure V367 Killborn to minimize psychological trauma. 1 human cadaver is to be placed in the vicinity of SCP-3631-2. Security personnel are to release SCP-3631-1 into SCP-3631-2's chamber. Personnel are not to enter the cell or disturb SCP-3631-1 in any way until the procedure is concluded, at which point SCP-3631-1 is to be sedated and removed from the chamber. SCP-3631-2 should be examined afterwards and administered antiseptic by the standby medical team. Description: SCP-3631 is the collective designation for 2 humanoids, SCP-3631-1 and SCP-3631-2. SCP-3631-1 is a nocturnal carnivore with red skin pigmentation. It weighs 89 kilograms and stands at 1.9 meters when upright. Outside of a mouth and several heat-sensing orifices, it lacks any discernible facial features. Despite this, SCP-3631-1 demonstrates sight, smell, and hearing comparable with that of other large primates. SCP-3631-1 displays persistent hunting behavior, stalking solitary prey from a distance and attacking when isolated. SCP-3631-2 is an adult male human. All of SCP-3631-2's limbs have been amputated, and the lower jaw and vocal cords have been removed. Additionally, a long incision has been made across the abdomen to allow access to the abdominal cavity. Analysis of scar tissue suggests this was likely inflicted by animal claws, though the precision of the wounds implies intent beyond simple defensive or predation behavior. Although it shows signs of consciousness, SCP-3631-2 is capable of only weak responses to stimuli, though this has improved since being taken into Foundation custody. SCP-3631-1 displays aggressively protective behavior against perceived threats to SCP-3631-2, having become significantly more aggressive since containment. SCP-3631-1 seems to be able to innately sense the medical condition of SCP-3631-2, as demonstrated by its agitation and high-pitched vocalizations typically associated with distress during surgical operations on SCP-3631-2. SCP-3631-1 will transport victims not used for sustenance to the vicinity of SCP-3631-2. It will then begin extracting organs from the victim to replace diseased and/or otherwise damaged organs in SCP-3631-2. The transplanted organs resume function upon attachment. However, transplanted organs quickly begin showing signs of atrophy and require replacement on an approximately monthly basis. Analysis indicates nearly all of SCP-3631-2's organs have been replaced in this fashion, with only the central nervous system and sections of bone and muscle tissue retained. Tissues from 23 different hosts have been identified. Attempts to replace this process with standard medical care have yielded mixed results, although supplementing maintenance from SCP-3631-1 with care from Foundation medical teams has improved SCP-3631-2's condition considerably. It is not known at this time how SCP-3631-2 consistently survived this process prior to containment, given the poor quality of care and high risk of blood loss and infection. Discovery: SCP-3631-1 was discovered and captured on 2005-12-18 in Ombre Rouge, Louisiana, after a string of disappearances were reported along with multiple sightings of a hostile human entity. SCP-3631-1 disappeared from its cell without explanation on 2006-11-29. After several years with no sighting or evidence supporting the entity's existence, Foundation personnel redesignated it as neutralized. SCP-3631-1 was rediscovered along with SCP-3631-2 on 2018-10-16 after a series of disappearances consistent with those that led to the discovery of SCP-3631-1. During the investigation, MTF Epsilon 6 Village Idiots discovered SCP-3631-2 in an abandoned barn outside of Ombre Rouge. Several pillows, blankets, and crude objects resembling toys were found in the barn, along with multiple unidentifiable human remains. During efforts to extract SCP-3631-2, Epsilon 6 was intercepted by SCP-3631-1, which was quickly subdued with minimal casualties. Addendum: Identification for an individual named Simon Hayes was found on the person of SCP-3631-2. Records indicate Hayes was reported missing in late 2016, shortly after returning to Ombre Rouge to visit his family. Medical records indicate that Hayes has been hospitalized due to a concussion after an automotive collision on 2006-11-29, the same date as the disappearances of SCP-3631-1 from containment. He was diagnosed with short-term retrograde amnesia. Investigation of Hayes' residence unearthed a number of crude drawings in an opened envelope, several of which depicted SCP-3631-1. A small note was included. Found these old drawings of yours. Thought you might like to see them again. Welcome home. Hugs and kisses. Mom. Thank you for listening to this podcast. If you like what you hear, Follow the link in the description to patreon.com/scp-unredacted and help support me by becoming a patron for as little as $3 a month. You can get access to production logs, merchandise, recognition, and even a part in a skip. Regardless of tier, all patrons get early access to every single episode. I don't have the talent it takes to write a skip. All I do is read. Original authors make this podcast possible, so credit to the original author. Their links in the description. Show them some love as well. Consider becoming a member of the SCP Wiki, upvote their work, and maybe write a skip of your own. Maybe I'll read it here someday. You never know if you never try. The content of this podcast and content relating to the SCP Foundation, including the SCP Foundation logo, is licensed under Creative Commons Sharealike 3.0, and all concepts originate from scpwiki.com and its authors. This recording, being derived from this content, is hereby also released under Creative Commons Sharealike 3.0.